Yes, guys, you know what time it is. It's your boy Jack here, joined by David for the Twitter reaction after Spurs nil-nil draw with Eintracht Frankfurt out in Germany last night. As you can see, we're staying strong with these Twitter reacts, no matter the result, no matter what happens, no matter the mood with Spurs. David and I, we will get up and we will get your thoughts on the screen here. Pretty much the whole purpose of the show is because after last night's game, you pretty much probably heard us blabbering on plenty, heard our thoughts on things, and it's time to get your thoughts, your opinions up on screen to get your sort of voices put out there for everybody to see and for everybody to let you be heard. So, everybody, if you don't already follow us on Twitter, please do. It's in the description down below. It seems like people are starting to kind of get the hang of this show, and we're getting lots of responses these days in the community section as well as Twitter. So, if Twitter doesn't work for you, also welcome to respond to our community section post. Again, like I just said before, it is a great way to get your thoughts, your kind of opinions on the game and whatnot, and also as well maybe other things regarding Spurs. It's just a great way to hear your opinions heard. But Dave, we thought maybe a good idea for today was to sort of, still put our, sort of thoughts out there. And we did that via the community section. We did that via Twitter as well. So what I'm about to do is I'm about to sort of share your kind of Twitter post, and it kind of includes sort of your summary on the game here. I'm about to pull it up here. Just kind of had some technical difficulties before, but with Dave's, I believe it was, let's see, very frustrating performance. Good, but no end product, and did not take our chances. First half was excellent. Second half was a letdown. Richarlison's son and Perisic need to do a lot better. Tottenham fans, what are your thoughts? Get them in for the Twitter reacts. I can't help but feel let down. You feel nothing but let down, Dave. That's kind of the emotion you feel most.
I feel let down by our star players, if I'm being brutally honest, Jack. Look, first half was good. We created some very good chances. Just for whatever reason, we were just a yard off it. Just the ball wasn't going in the back of the net. First half, no problem. Even second half, I thought we played well. We still dominated the game, but we created less, in my opinion. It was just getting worse and worse as the half went on, and every time the ball went to Son or Perisic or Son or Richarlison, it was either a heavy touch, losing the ball. And I get they're asked to do something different to what Harry Kane was maybe asked to do, which is get on the ball and beat players. But, Son was very, very good at that throughout his career. But this season, it's just not happening for him. And it's just frustrating, especially after the hat-trick off the back of Leicester. I just want to see a bit more from him. Richarlison, I've explained this before. I've said it weeks ago. Everyone's talking about it now, but I said it weeks ago about Kulusevski, that this guy needs to be playing in the front three. And I get he's injured and we have to play Richarlison in there. But Richarlison is a striker. He's not a link-up player. He's not a player that can do that link-up. Even in the first half, he was very frustrated. And then he had a good spell of 10, 15 minutes where it kind of was working for him. And then again, went back to time where we were just losing the ball in the forward areas. And it also backs up what Antonio Conte said in his press conference, where he said last season or this season, we're getting the ball into the forward line, but basically we're not killing teams like we were last season. And he was correct again. It played out that exact same way. I think Conte was also backed up with his tactics. A lot of people have questioned his tactics, but when everyone gives it their all, this is the way we can't play it. I actually thought first half was probably the best I've seen Tottenham this season. But I just can't help but feel the second half was a complete anti-climax. I was expecting Tottenham to go again, keep creating a lot more chances, and it just did not happen, in my opinion. Perisic as well. I was buzzing for this guy to come in, but I'll be honest, Jack, he has not lived up to
No,
the
he
player
hasn't.
I've seen at Inter Milan. He's nowhere near it. His passing is off, his touches are off. He doesn't look confident in the box. There's times where he should be shooting. He's gone for a cross, or where instance I've seen him put in before, he's buried it. But he's not even getting his shots on target. And that was our biggest problem yesterday as well.
I agree.
He's actually getting our shots on target. And that's why I just feel it was a letdown, because we started off so well, but we played a decent first half against Arsenal, but crumbled in the second. And too many times this season, I've seen Tottenham play a good half, but we haven't put 90 minutes together. And for me, coming out of there with the win and a couple of goals would have been the icing on the cake, and would have been the 90 minutes performance I was looking for. So I can't help but feel a bit let down.
Yeah, I can see how you could feel a bit let down with that, especially like you said, you feel let down because it's coming from the star players. It's coming from the world-class players in the team. And it's not coming from, the usual suspects. Maybe let it be like an Emerson or kind of something like that. It's come from maybe different players in the pitch. Let's maybe greet a bit of the Harris Army in here, see what they have to say on the game. Then we're going to get sort of my thoughts on it. Then we're just going to get straight into it. Everybody, do hit that like button if you're already in here. T.O. Isaac, good to see you as always, my man. Hopefully you're keeping well. Got Jiu-Jitsu boy as well. Not good enough. Can't keep making excuses. We've been playing shit most of the season. Frankfurt were there for the taking, just papering over the cracks. There's no plan B, C, or D. The same old, says Jiu-Jitsu. I see what you mean, where it was the same old when it came to the formation, when it came to the shape and everything. But I'll be honest, Jiu-Jitsu, the amount of chances that were created, and Dave even said some of the moments where we didn't even challenge the keeper, like, blatantly right in front of goal. And the fact that we still found a way to put it wide and not even, put it on target really is actually shameful in certain ways, especially from sort of our forward players who we know can be a whole lot more clinical. I agree with you, Jiu-Jitsu, where it has been a bit of the same old, but this game really, I mean, a plethora of chances, if you ask me, but
I
big up, man.
disagree. I actually disagree slightly. I think last night, I think people have absolutely berated and ripped our midfield apart this season. Last night, I thought Højbjerg was absolutely exceptional. Bentancur was very good as well. Although I would like to maybe just see a bit more gusto about the guy maybe going forward.
Hmm.
But maybe, look, that's just not the sort of player he is. I actually thought the back line, a lot of what they had to deal with, they actually dealt with very, very well and comfortably enough, in my opinion. So I don't think it's the same old, same old. I do think I've seen improvements, but ultimately the end result is the same result, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, Dave. Big up, Mick Kermala. Good to see you in the house, my man. Big up, Gamer16. Hopefully, all is well with you, my man. Still second in the group. Love that. Wembley, big up, boys. It was good to see a much more engaged performance from the boys last night. Frustrating, though, that it couldn't be turned into goals, but better signs following the North London Derby defeat. Tough crowd, tough atmosphere, Wembley. In fact, Spurs controlled the game in a very tough crowd and in a very tough atmosphere. Just again, it's just incredible how nothing seemed to get over that line. Nothing seemed to go into the back of the net. And it's something maybe to be,
Was
yeah.
I was very impressed with the pressing we done last night. We engaged a lot higher up the field, and I thought we controlled the game defensively and offensively, which I have not seen from Tottenham this season.
Do you think that caught Frankfurt maybe by surprise, perhaps? Maybe pressing that much so early or pressing that much
100%
consistently?
it did.
Yeah.
100% it did. They weren't expecting it, and it looked like they just had no answer to it the whole game. But also goes to what I was saying. Frankfurt weren't as good as people were bigging them up before the game.
Foggy Foam, one of the better names in the Harris Army, says Spurs fans taking things overboard. We tend to forget fast. We done the same with Son when not in form. Now with Conte, we need to relax. Good afternoon, guys. Hopefully all is well with you, Foggy. And believe me, it's quite shocking, all the sort of accusations that have been thrown across, the whole, team to the board and everything after last night's performance. I think we just have to look at the people that just didn't put it in the back of the net. Simple as, Foggy. And I'm pretty sure those guys that didn't put in the back of the net last night, they're going to make amends and they're going to do it against Brighton. It's actually quite simple, if you ask me. Some of the I think the reflection on that game, I don't really think a lot can be put on Conte. I don't really think a lot can be put on the defense. I don't think a lot can be put on the midfield. You just have to look at that forward line, my man. And I think it's really that simple. But big up, Foggy. Hopefully you're keeping well, my man. Mark Canoe, big up, lads. Hopefully you're keeping well as well, Mark. And I do hope to see you Friday as well. Big up, Chris. So much overreaction to not great results. And it's Conte out now. I mean, just bear with it, Chris. I mean, just get ready for the storm, my man. Dermot with a big donation, a big super sticker here. And it's just him lifting the trophy here yet again, Davo. It's him lifting the trophies. And he's just trying to keep the mood up. He's just trying to keep the hope here. And Dermot, by the looks of things, if we get a result at home in the next Champions League game, we probably could be advancing in this Champions League. So we are going to get into the knockout rounds if we do win that next match, by the looks of things. But as well, Dermot, I do want to make sure that these boys are still going to be fit and focused for the Carabao, for the likes of the FA Cup, because what I don't want is to see some sort of lackadaisical performance, and then we all of a sudden find ourselves bowing out of those competitions very early, because that's what's always been kind of a bit of a bit of a pet peeve of mine, is how quickly we like to bow out of those sort of competitions. So Dermot, in order to keep that trophy, in order to keep that super sticker alive, Spurs are going to have to focus on those cups, my man. Big up, brother. Big up, Wisdom. Good to see you. Just going to get a little quicker here so we can get to the show. Big up, Neil. Hopefully all is well. Big up, Checkmate. Where on earth do we go, people? The worst case scenario is that Conte leaves. Tottenham fans are moving mad out here. Calling for Conte out is silly talk. We need him. Otherwise, where do we go from there? I don't know where we go from there. Only backwards, basically, is what I would say. Checkmate. Big up Kevin Wood. Big up Akshegs. Hopefully, all is good with you, my man. AE, good to see you as well. Zoe's in the house as well. Good to see you, Zoe. George Hill, afternoon, lads. Hopefully, you're keeping well. For all the people saying Conte out, you're deluded. If Conte goes, Kane goes, and our other top players follow suit, we'll end up with another Nuno. I mean, it's only backwards. It's a slippery slope, George. Very slippery slope. So, a big up, lads. Got it about the result. Saw the highlights, and we deserve to win. Need a big performance against Brighton. Absolutely spot on, Zoe. Good to see you, Zam. And just Jin Sup, I think it's the last one there. But everybody, while you're in here, do smash that like button. Big up Peter Simons as well. But do smash that like button. Do keep getting your comments in. Feel free to throw in a super chat as well to support the channel. It's a great way also to skip the queue, kind of while we're addressing all these Twitter comments, while we're addressing all these community post comments. And it's also, like I said, great way to support the channel. But let's get straight into it. And we're going to go to, I believe, the Twitter reactions here and see what the people have to say. Going to bring it up on screen for everybody. Again, Dave's comment, I'll read it out one more time. Very frustrating performance, good, but with no end product and did not take our chances. First half was excellent. Second half was a letdown. Richarlison, Son, and Perisic need to do a lot better, says Dave. And then we have Chris here with his first and foremost saying better performance than the weekend, but our front three were woeful. Need to be more clinical. Simple as that. I think it is simple as that. Just like I was saying earlier, Chris, I don't really feel like the blame can really just be, tossed willy-nilly to various, sections of the team or whatnot of the club, because if I really look at it, the blame really only lies on the front three of last night. I thought Kane's hold-up play was pretty exceptional, what I would add, and he wasn't really at the end of most of the chances. When you look at it, he wasn't really the person really at the final ball at the end of most of the chances, but the front three do have to look at themselves. Simple as that. Big up, Chris. Dermot saying better performance than Saturday, but again, Richarlison let us down. But he's great as a front player, not as a winger. Conte needs to play 3-5-2 Saturday so he can play Kane and Son together, because the front three at the moment does not work. Come on, you Spurs. Richarlison, would he just be better suited, Dave, coming on in the next game as a second striker in a 3-5-2? Are we maybe persisting a bit too much with Richarlison as a winger? I feel like he's sort of doing a job as a winger at times. Like you said, 10 to 15 minutes of good spells from him, and then it just kind of goes a bit haywire in certain moments as well. And maybe he's just, naturally a bit more uncomfortable there, and it's more of a learning process for him playing that position, where maybe similar to Sonny, if you just plugged him into that second striker in a 3-5-2, it would be a bit more natural, a bit more comfortable for them.
Tried highlighting it weeks ago, Jack. I was called negative, this, that, and the other. I tried highlighting it. I could foresee it coming. I could see the problems. Richarlison was brought in here to be a backup to Harry Kane, or maybe go and play as a second striker to Harry Kane when you're chasing games. Get balls out wide, get them in the box. It's what he was great at Everton, getting the ball out wide, getting the ball in the box, and letting him go and attack it, but also his work rate off the ball, chasing Harry and things down. Asking him to play out wide and do stuff like what we know Sonny can usually do. It's not his game. Yes, he played a little bit there at Watford at times doing it, but that's Watford. With Tottenham, you need to be a lot more consistent than what the guy is. And for me, like I said it last night going into the game, if we played a 3-5-2, Richarlison would have a good performance up beside Kane as a striker. But asking him to do the link-up play and the winger stuff, it's just not there for him. Dropping, it's all the first touches. It's, all these step overs, a lot of them that are just not coming off for him. It's these first-time passes when it's time to take a touch and control the ball and play people. And that's what Kulu gives you that Richarlison can't. It's very easy. All you got to do is look at what Kulu does. Holds up the ball, uses his body well, runs the channels as well. Has a wonderful left foot, can put it in or can curl one in. Look what Richarlison does. He doesn't offer what Kulu does. It's that simple. And it does hinder the front three. Look, it doesn't help that Sonny wasn't on his game either yesterday, especially in the second half. First half, he was okay. Second half, he just completely went off the boil. But, look, even with Kane at times, there was a couple of misplaced passes from Kane. There was a couple of times in the first half he tried to get on the end of things. He was just a yard or two away. But ultimately, His hold-up play was what got us up the field. What was able to get us turned. But anytime it went out to either side of him, or anytime he delivered it, we just lost it. And it was just
Hmm.
very frustrating. But Richarlison needs to do better. He has to do better. How long can you keep persisting with him? Because what he's doing is very similar to what Lucas Moura does. Loses the ball an awful lot. The consistency of the play is not there. When it does come off for Richarlison, it looks good. But the problem is the consistency of how many times he can do it when the ball comes into him. And he lets us down more often than what he does good. It's not his game. His game is being the focal point, getting on the end of teams and scoring goals.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be fair, I think he is going to learn, to play that, winger position. And like we said, we've seen spells maybe where he's looked decent playing there, but it's going to be an adjustment period for him and it's going to be a learning period for him. And if we know anything about Richarlison, it's probably where he's most comfortable is just playing directly through the middle. And if we are chasing a game, exactly like you said, Dave, it's not really too complicated. You can kind of just put him in the middle right next to Kane if you're really just chasing a game. Or if you want to go for that 3-5-2 again, he would be an excellent player to put there alongside him. He just really does operate, I would say, maybe a bit better through the middle. But I have seen good moments of him, out wide and in those kind of, in those wide areas. But like you said, it's just maybe not consistent enough for the level that maybe we're asking
Here's
for
the thing,
from
though,
a
Jack.
winger for our team. It's not maybe the
But
consistent enough
here's the
level.
thing. Lucas Moura can give us moments. A player we let go in the summer who I agree
Right.
with letting go, by the way, Bergwijn, he gave us moments. Moments is not what we need at Tottenham. What we need is consistency like what Kane and Son have given us over 7-8 years. That's what we need at Tottenham, not moments.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mark Canoe saying, big up David and Jack. Before the game, I'd take a drop, but we missed so many chances. We should be 2-0 up or 3-0 up in the first half. Come on, you Spurs. Come on, you Harris Army. Come on, you Flat Cap Army. Big up, Mark. And then Adrian Chia with a super chat saying, Conte said in his post-match, football is simple. To win, you must score. Fans are too impatient and blame Conte for fossil football when the front line is not clicking. Adrian, we were talking about this on the watch along, and you probably heard me, but it's one of those situations where like people are now starting to say like fossil football, no chances were created. It's like I'm just starting to think like, did we watch a different game here? Where it's like the front line could not complain about service. There is no, in fact, I think Højbjerg would probably be if probably offended if they complained about service, Dave, because all the times that either the midfield or even the likes of Eric Dyer and whatnot. I thought Eric Dyer played some nice passes into the forward line and whatnot. It just felt like, a lot of players in that pitch did their very best to get the ball into the forward players to make the magic happen. And it just simply never came through. It never was actually fully finished. There were some nice, beautiful bits of play, Dave. I mean, there were some moments when we saw like 4 one-touch passing link-up play and players just dicing through that, Frankfurt defense. And then it just ended up being, a shot that went wide or a poor touch at the very end, or maybe a bit of a heavy pass. And it just seems like, Adrian, like how much is that really down to Conte? I mean, Conte is putting them in the right positions to do exactly what they want to do, which is score and not make it too hard on themselves. And I don't know, like it's something where you just look at the forward line have to pick themselves up, kind of, I don't know, snap themselves together and figure out, a different way of going about it. Maybe just think about, these chances a bit differently, because if you ask me, Adrian, sometimes they are just a bit wasteful. They just kind of seem to think that, another chance is going to be coming in 5 minutes or, 2 minutes time. And it's not really always like that in football, because what could happen is you end up going 1-0 down and then you'll rue missing that chance in the first place. But I don't know. I'm getting a bit disappointed that people are saying we're not creating chances under Conte, because we were absolutely all over them, in my opinion.
This is what winds me up, Jack. Again, another thing I said weeks ago when Richarlison was coming in for Kulu and people were calling for it. And I'm like, no, the problem is not the formation. It's not the tactics. The problem is we're not creating anything going forward. That was the biggest problem. I highlighted it. I said, and if you want to change that, you take out Richarlison, bring back in Kulu. It's been a problem this season. Last season when it clicked, and it didn't really click until around February. We went on a good run. We were obliterating teams, and we asked a different question of teams. So they also started setting up differently against us. Started setting up low block. Okay, what have you got now? When we condense the middle where Harry Kane picks up the ball, we're going to sit low block, so you don't have that space to punish us in behind. What
Yeah.
are you going to do now? This season, we're not using that space. We're not getting the right passes in behind. We're not using the ball properly up in the forward areas. Anytime the ball comes into one, okay, he may hold it up and control it and
Yeah.
lay it off, but then the next player ends up losing the ball. It is not working. And I'll be honest with you. Look, criticize Conte all you want. And I've been here. I've done it with Jose Mourinho. I told people, keep doing it all you want. The guy is the one that has trophies in the cabinet, not us. You employ the guy for his methods and because of his methods that have got him trophies. The guy's not even here a year yet. Not even here a year. And we're already asking him to change everything up, this, that, and the other. When he's the one that has trophies in the cabinet. He's the one that has trophies playing his system, playing his way at all these other clubs. Guess what? Tottenham is still the only club Jose Mourinho has not won a trophy at since he left. Everyone said he was finished over the hill, doesn't know how to win trophies. Went on and won a Europa Conference League. Us as fans have to learn to be patient. You want what Liverpool have? You want what City have? You have to give it more than a year or 2 years. You can't keep sacking managers. I said this, Jack. I said this yesterday. You want to keep going down this route of putting pressure on managers, calling them out, making them unhappy, and calling for them maybe to be sacked and stuff like that. Well, then don't be surprised when you end up with someone like Nuno after Conte. Don't be surprised when you end up like Man United or Arsenal, where they've got two young managers who are really probably not good enough to be there, and where they have no option but to sit there on them guys, back them, give them their money and build a project. And hopefully it comes good. Hopefully you can get back to top four, which is nowhere near where they were beforehand. So if we want to go down that route, keep going this way. If you don't want to go down that route, just have a bit of patience. Relax a little bit. We're third in the league, 4 points off top. We can still get out of the Champions League group. It is not all doom and gloom, and it's not as bad as people are making it out to be. I think there's a lot of overreaction. You know, we've got 6 new signings here in the summer, which all the fans called for. It's going to take time to integrate them. Look, we don't know our best 11 yet. Conte, by the looks of it, doesn't even know our best 11 yet. We've also had some injuries. Just relax. It's going to take time. It's going to come good. Look what Conte done with a bare 11 and a worse squad last season. Do you think all them great games were fantastic?
Dave.
No, they weren't. But this season, because it's not going our way, we're throwing our toys out the pram. You want trophies? Give this guy a chance. Do you want to give this guy a chance, or do you want to give fucking Sean Dyche a chance when he ends up coming in here next? Take your poison. Pick your poison.
Well
Because
said,
the same
Dave.
people that cried and wanted Jose Mourinho out and slated him for everything he'd done, slated him in his press conference, the way he spoke to these players, his tactics and everything else, even though when he's gone, everything he'd done and said was absolutely spot on and to the T.
Yep.
And they all cried like girls or like when Nuno came in here. And then it's like, okay, but what did you expect? You all wanted to go around throwing out Josie out. Well and good. But you didn't put any good names forward, and I told you this was going to happen, and now you're crying he's here. You know, you don't do the same at Antonio Conte. Learn your lessons. We didn't learn our lessons from building the stadium and being able to move into it without having any financial problems. What Arsenal done down the road is what we should have not done. We should have learned from their example. We didn't do that. We went windows without signing players. But now we're not even going to learn from their example of what they've done with Wenger, with someone like Emery, who, by the way, left to go on and win a Europa League and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden they're stuck with Mikel Arteta. Their fan base is up in arms. Half of them don't want them. Half of them do want them. This, that, and the other. And it's kind of like, learn your lessons from what's going on down the road. Simple.
Yeah, simply just look at the
other side. Sorry, I know when
I'm
a bit of rap.
No, I mean, Dave, I think everybody's absolutely loving it, Dave. I mean, Adrian Chia, thank you very much, Adrian, for the support and bringing out the best out of Dave there, Adrian. Absolute legend he is, and bringing out the best out of Dave. Big up, Adrian. Spot on, my man. Just want to welcome a few more people in the chat here. Big up, Christian. Hopefully you're keeping well, my man. Peter M. said, there are a lot of chances. Our finishing is all that let us down. Big up, Peter M. Spurs 72. Good to see you, my man. Hopefully all is good with you, brother, and really appreciate you and all your support, my man. Pick up Spurs 72. Lasego Mokena, love that name, says negativity is because Arsenal are doing well. That's it, lads. It is probably because of that sort of tension, Dave, seeing the likes of the scum doing so well, seeing them kind of playing that sort of silky football right now. It sort of maybe puts Spurs fans on edge. It makes them maybe a bit more reactionary, makes them a bit more tense than usual. And it probably does have to do with the fact that the scum maybe are doing so well. But I think we have to take solace in the fact that Chelsea and Liverpool are the ones that are even in a worse position, and perhaps even North London clubs are the ones replacing Chelsea and Liverpool in the title race, or even in just, let's say, the top four race this season. So as much as I feel like you're absolutely spot on, Lasego, I think Spurs fans should also take a bit of solace from the fact that maybe right now we are replacing the likes of Chelsea and Liverpool this season. But of course, plenty of football to be played. But Lasego, love that. I think you're probably right, actually. I think you're probably right.
Again, same last season. Same
Yeah.
last season when Arsenal were ahead of us. Everyone's saying we're not going to get top four. We're not going to get top four. All of a sudden, we get top four. You know what I mean? People bigging up the likes of Brighton, Leicester, West Ham. They're better than us. Well, they're all below us, and none of them are playing in Champions League football as far as I can see this season, Jacko. So, I mean, look, I get it when Arsenal's ahead, we're all unhappy, and we all do this like we done it with West Ham last season. Oh, they're going to get Champions League. And I said it all season. No, they're going to fall off. They're going to fall off. I said the same at Arsenal. Both of them fell off. So just because Arsenal are doing well at the minute, it doesn't mean they're not going to fall off. They're fucking notorious for it. Even under Wenger, top by Christmas and always fall off. So you just expect it.
Big up, Lasego. Big man. I love that. Absolutely great comment. 24Z, good to see you. Saying, I think there's an overreaction last night. Definitely. Big up, 24Z. Big up, Tom THFC. Big up, Mr. Daigle. Good to see you. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone. Hope you were all well. Disappointing last night. I'm convinced that Basuma is now club signing, getting the exact same treatment as Spence. I don't know if I would go that far. It doesn't really seem like he's said anything similar about Spence as he has with Basuma. And then as well, if anything, Brian Daigle, he just seems very married to the 3-4-3 and wants to give Basuma more time to embed in. I'm not really getting Ndombele vibes or, Spence vibes or anything from it. I don't know, Dave, though. I mean, would you want to, do you agree with Daigle here, or are you kind of on, with me on it? I think Basuma, I don't really know if it's that far, but there is maybe something to be said with how little he has played.
I can see what Daigle is saying. I think it's way too early to call that. I think it's way even too early to call a transfer window. I think you've got to give it at least until maybe Christmas, January to take stock of where we're really at. We should learn our lessons from last January where we absolutely ridiculed the window, even though it was good enough to get us top four. But what I will say is we also have to remember when Eriksen went to Inter Milan, it took him a while to get into the team. When Conte took over Chelsea, he dropped Fabregas, and it took him a while to get back into the team because there's in that midfield role, it's such a disciplined and tactical role that he needs them to play. That if they're not up to scratch in that midfield position, he's not just going to throw them in. Look what happened against West Ham when he came in for Bentancur. He was just not at the races that day. He was nowhere near the Basuma that we've seen from Brighton. So I would say, Brian, just give it a little bit more time and see if it is the case where it's like an Eriksen or a Fabregas when he first walked into Chelsea. And that's what I would say. But
his explanation, though, is saying sub appearances with 15 minutes to go in the West Ham game. Then you look at Longley, Richarlison, and Perisic, who are getting a lot more game time. We need 3 in the middle, but he doesn't do it. There is some, that's his logic.
Longley's come in because of injury to Ben Davies a lot of the time, and he took his opportunity. Perisic was always going to come in ahead of Session because he's not the player that I don't think everybody thinks he is. And Richarlison, we've also had injuries to Kulu as well. I know when he first came in, we didn't have injuries to Kulu, but he's playing now because we have injuries. And Basuma played when Bentancur was out injured. So, again, I would say, look, you have to take into account the injuries in them positions, and that's why the guys are getting the minute. And Perisic is just better than Session.
And it's official that the stain has actually left the T-shirt as well, which I must say, maybe a day of silence, perhaps even a week of silence for that T-shirt, and maybe even frame it, Daigle, now that it's all clean. Maybe never to be worn again, I would say, now that it's clean. Maybe now never wear it again, now that it's fully clean and the stain is gone. Big up, Daigle. Appreciate your support, my man. Just going to welcome a few others in the house, a few more legends. Oliver Freeman, big up, Oliver. Hopefully you're keeping well, my man. Good to see you. Derek Smith as well. Kev Williams, good to see you as well. Really appreciate your support, lads. And then also 2 super chats to get to. Then we'll get going. But Dermot saying last night was a better point away in Europe and is a good result to many and to many fans overreacting. Conte will get pissed off. I say will get pissed off, say, get out of here. Whereas maybe I'm reading this wrong.
Conte will get pissed off and will say, I'm out of here.
Yeah. And say, I'm out of here. Sorry, Dave, you just take the rest of it. I'm having
Yeah, so he says last night was a better was better. A point away in Europe is a good result. Too many fans overreacting. Conte will get pissed off and say, "I am out of here." There were no
Way back.
way back to Nuno. We go. Let's get behind Conte.
Big up,
And
Dermot.
yeah, look, Dermot. I said this. I do think there was an. I get it hurts. Like, look, we all want to win every single game. We all hate losing to Arsenal, and I get it. And look, there's nothing to say people that say Conte out are wrong either, because when you look at the evidence, we are a long way off what we were last season. So there could be truth in what both sides are saying. Where some people are saying, look, there's just something that's not right that's going on. But then, there's also truth to it where it's like, you do have to give it time. Everything wasn't perfect under Conte last season, but at the end of the day, we ground out enough results to be able to get us top four. And I do think with the new signings, it is going to take time to bed them all in and get our best 11 and get going. But this whole Conte out thing, I think, is absolutely madness. And I've said this before, I think we're very, very short-sighted here as Spurs fans. Even when you use Emerson spending money on his own career to beat him with as a joke. But yet you forget people were calling for Ndombele, Dele Alli, Lo Celso, people like that to do the same thing and refuse to do it. I think we're very, very short-sighted as Spurs fans, and we can very easily, where we're at now, can very, very easily slip back into where we were not so long ago until Conte pulled us out of that despair. So I'll be very, very cautious by going with this Conte out and questioning everything Conte needs to do, because you can already see him getting wound up. He already knows what the fans are saying, because he basically said, you're a fan, I'm a manager, I know what I'm doing. He basically been asked about Doherty in about 20 different ways, because people want to see Doherty over Emerson. He just basically came out, he's getting pissed off. He said, okay, I'll tell you the reason why he's not playing, because I don't want to lose. That's why he's not playing. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. So it's just
provoking him a bit, it feels like.
It's like, I don't get where all this disrespect is coming from a guy that pulled the bare 11 together, pulled players that have been here for 8-9 years, never really done it in a Spurs jersey, and got a good cohesive season out of them. And also got us top four when nobody said we were going to get it. Done absolutely everything everybody said the guy couldn't do. And yet we're disrespecting him so early into this season. I don't understand it.
Yeah, I don't either, Dave. I definitely don't. And Dermot, I apologize for my reading skills. It's just a bit early this morning, and I hear the croaky morning voice as well, so not in the best for me. I need to put on my reading glasses for this morning, Dermot, for Twitter. Big up, my man. And just quickly as well, what I would say is it was impressive to see us absolutely dominate a team like Frankfurt away from home, especially with that crowd as well. One of the toughest atmospheres to go to in Europe. I mean, it is up there as one of the tougher crowds to come up against. And I mean, we handled our own, which just shows that there is a bit of backbone in this team. Frustrating thing, though, is we didn't put away the goals to, get what we deserved, which was all 3 points.
I also want to add one more thing as well about the Conte thing. We say, like, Spurs fans are unhappy with the football, granted, but you're also unhappy when we failed in every single final underneath Pochettino. Where Pochettino did win a trophy was actually playing counter-attacking football at PSG. Where Jose Mourinho and Antonio Conte, the reason why they have cabinet trophies in their cabinets is because they understand that you have to have a solid backline and quality forwards, but defensively you have to be solid to keep teams out, and then you should have the quality forwards to go and take your chances. When they get to finals, that's why they win. That's why they win league titles. Great Sir Alex Ferguson said, defense or attack wins your games, defense wins your leagues. You listen to Gary Neville talking to Paul Scholes the other day. He said even in his time, United weren't known as a possession-based team. I get people don't like the tactics of these managers like a Jose, like a Conte, but it puts trophies in the cabinet. Where were Pochettino's when he played that lovely style of football? They were nowhere to be seen, and we all get annoyed about not having trophies. But when a guy comes in, and all the managers, bar maybe, you would say, Pep and Klopp, but you do also have to understand they spent big money on goalkeeper and centre-backs to solidify their defence, even though they play a slightly different way. But a lot of trophies are won by managers that play defensive football or set up their defence and structure it in a way where they don't concede many chances and then they break on the counter-attack. So if you want to win trophies, we can't go toe-to-toe with Liverpool or City in a domestic cup final and play all-out football, because they'll absolutely spank us. And this is the other way. And when you also look at it, under Pochettino, results against Big Six absolutely shit. Under Conte and Jose, that started to change, and it's because of the style of football. So maybe I get what people are saying about the style of football. Maybe there could be a bit of a more of a balance between attacking and defending, which hopefully we seen last night. But you know, you got to understand defense is what helps you get over the lines in these cup finals, playing these sort of systems. And in fairness to Conte's system, no one can tell me we've been out of a game by halftime, or we've never been in a chance of winning a game using this system.
Yeah, really well said there, Dave. And Dermot, again, like Adrian G, bringing the best out of Dave here. And Dermot, really appreciate your support, brother. So many people put in so many great comments here, Dave. And a lot of people said, well said, Dave says wisdom. Kevin Wood, so true, Dave. Mark New, David is right. We need to keep Conte with a good window in January. If he gets unsettled, we may not get Poch. Maybe we'll get an interim Sean Dyche or Ryan Mason. Come on, you Spurs. Mark New, absolutely right there. You never know. It's not so simple with the replacements. It's not so easy. It's not a plug and play sort of situation. John Stokes says average goals per league game as Spurs manager. Conte 2.19, Poch 1.84 per game, Mourinho 1.77, and Redknapp 1.58. The memory is a powerful deceiver, says John Stokes. John Stokes with a very kind of a Socrates kind of ask.
I did see that, but I do also want to add, you have to take into the account now games Pochettino is in charge compared to how many games Conte has been in charge, etc. So that will actually manipulate the numbers a bit in Conte's favor. But I do like the stat, I can't lie.
Yeah, I do like it as well. And also a lot of support here from Brian C. Socrates. Well said, Dave. I agree 100%. Big up. A lot of people are putting that in the chat. Bringing your best today, Dave, I must say. Big up, Brian C. Appreciate your support, brother. And he also says, lads, will Antonio Conte get very pissed off with questioning on selection and formation? Yeah, he already is. Who has the track record of winning? Conte does. Other managers questioned, and our other managers questioned repeatedly on their team selection and formation in press conferences. I don't really see it happening to Klopp very much, maybe with Trent, but it's taken a long time until they started questioning Klopp. Pep Guardiola never questioned. You look at the likes of even Thomas Tuchel over there, wasn't questioned very much. It is quite shocking, actually, Socrates, that a manager like Conte is getting questioned kind of repeatedly on the cases of Emerson, on the cases of Doherty, on the cases of Højbjerg and whatnot. It's just really actually, to a degree, quite insulting as well. And at this stage, we are starting to clearly piss him off in press conferences because he's received the question about Doherty versus Emerson for about the 12th time in the last month. And so he decided to put it in the most layman's terms as he could possible. And he had to basically put down Doherty in order to make it quite obvious that he doesn't clearly favor him. And I think that was kind of sad, where he was actually kind of being quite delicate about it, being quite nice about it, maybe being a bit cryptic about, his answers before Brian C. But no one wanted to listen to him. They kept kind of questioning him. They kept questioning his decisions. And now he's basically just saying things like, I'm not stupid. I know how to teach football. He's saying all these things that are clearly pissing him off. I'm actually getting a bit worried here because if anything, it is actually coming from the fans and it is coming from the journalists that are questioning him in the media and whatnot, because he does seem to be getting a bit rattled by it actually right now, getting every single little decision he makes questioned at every move.
Look, our job as fans is to ask these questions,
True.
to, and look, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but, when you look at Klopp and Guardiola, they don't constantly get questioned about their team selection by journals the way Conte does. And at the end of the day, again, it comes down to people calling for Matt Doherty all the time. Emerson has been more consistent in a Tottenham jersey than what Matt Doherty ever has been. People are calling for Matt Doherty off the back of 6 good games, And Conte, if people were listening to what Conte says, he said it ages ago about Matt Doherty. In fact, he said it, I think, pre-season or at the start of this season. When I came in here, I told Matt he wasn't a part of my plans. He went away, worked on his game. I gave him an opportunity and he took it. But what makes people think Doherty is a part of Conte's plans? Before Conte got here, everybody wanted Matt Doherty out. He was useless. He was supposed to fill in for Serge Aurier. Failed to do that role. We let Serge Aurier's contract, ripped up Serge Aurier's contract. Doherty still failed. And Emerson, whether people like it or not, and I get he's not as good as what we need down that side. And yes, we can do better. But the fact of the matter is, he is more consistent than what Matt Doherty has ever been in a Tottenham jersey. He's better defensively. And so I just don't understand where this is coming from, where all of a sudden we want Matt Doherty in there. Matt Doherty, like, where's it coming from? What has the guy done for that pressure to be put on the manager, for him to constantly be asked about it in the press conference? I get Emerson hasn't helped him with some of his performances. But why do we keep calling for something that we already know doesn't work? We've done the same with Sanchez when he came in and kept some clean sheets against teams that can't score, against teams in the relegation zone. We fluffed up all his stats to make him look like fucking Virgil van Dijk. Some people were even saying, oh, he's better than Virgil van Dijk. And putting Virgil van Dijk down and bigging up Davinson Sanchez over a couple of games. Yet Virgil van Dijk's picked up Premier League, Champions League, FA Cup, League Cup, Club World Championship over the course of his career, and he's having one blip with the whole Liverpool team. And people are there trying to tell me Sanchez is better than someone like Van Dijk. And then all of a sudden, Conte wilts. He says, okay, I'll put in Davinson Sanchez for you guys. Give away a penalty against a team that does carry a threat, and all of a sudden, back out of the team again. Last season, people were questioning him, why do you continuously pick Højbjerg? Why? Winks is better than him. Winks, he's not any better than Winks. Okay. Against Wolves, I'll tell you what I'll do,
he's
guys.
been questioned on Højbjerg.
I'm going to take Winks out. I'm going to take Højbjerg out. I'll drop Winks in there. 2 minutes down before even, or 2-0 down after like 20 odd minutes. There's your answer, guys. That's why Harry Winks does not play in the middle. So stop
to a team like Wolves who don't score either. Yeah.
Everything Conte does, he's correct. Like, he's a winner. He's a serial winner. He knows how to win. I get people are allowed opinions, and it is fans' job to question them. But when the media are so relentless with the questions to him, expect what you seen the other day before this game. Expect to see that in the press conferences, because it's like a journalist is asking him a question. It's like, okay, if you're so good, why aren't you a football manager?
If anything, though, Brian C., what I would say to Brian C., too, lastly here is that, I mean, what is it? Last season, he's being praised at every weekend, at every moment, for basically taking Spurs from what was thought to be basically, an unrecoverable position, Brian C., to top four. And everybody doubted him on top four. No one really gave him much of a choice, except really, a certain maybe people who did keep the faith in the top four. But I don't know, Brian C. It's amazing that, he's being praised every weekend for taking Spurs into top four, for trying to make a push for it, for, turning all these players who we thought at one stage were broken, then making them look like at least a decent player all of a sudden. And then all of a sudden this season, like, now we've just forgotten all that credit in the bank that you thought he had earned last season with that sort of run into top four, with turning Eric Dyer back into a better player, with turning Ben Davies somehow into a useful player for a little bit, all those sort of like quote unquote miracles that he performed. Now we seem to have forgotten about it so quickly, and there seems to be no credit in the bank here with Spurs fans. And also even his pedigree with other clubs seems to be no credit in the bank with Spurs fans anymore either. And it's getting a bit kind of, I don't know, it's like we said before as well, Brian, we also have to be careful what we wish for, because if we continue to question Conte in this manner, he will get pissed, and I would reckon he will start to question maybe, his position here. Because when he first came here too, David and Brian, is that he was met with absolute love, undying faith and support from the fans. That's starting to chip away and go away now. And I think once he loses that sort of cult hero, sort of a status, once he loses that sort of love and connection with the fan base, I'm not really sure, what's always keeping, him here. Because I think that's a huge facet for keeping him here in London and keeping him here in England, is having that connection to the fan base as well. And I really would be disappointed if he lost that with us.
So would I. But here's the thing as well. Whether you think we've had a good transfer window or a bad transfer window, both sides will both agree that we're nowhere near the finished article and we didn't get everything we wanted this summer. So if we know that, surely you understand that then we're a work in progress and you have to give Conte time. Surely.
No, definitely. Big up, Brian C. Appreciate your support. And then Oliver Freeman saying, Conte, I can teach football. I mean, now that he's starting to say, I'm not stupid, I can teach football, it's getting a bit, he's starting to get a bit, you can tell, Oliver, he's starting to get a bit pissed off at this stage. But Oliver, he certainly can. And he's teaching Emerson at the moment, his favorite little project, you could say Emerson is. Big up, Oliver Freeman. But we're going to get to some more comments from the Twitter sphere. Everybody, do keep putting in your comments up on screen. We'll try to get them up there, but it is about getting to the Twitter reactions. And if you do want to skip the queue, continue to put in a super chat. It's a great way to support the channel. Really big up Brian C., Dermot, Oliver, so many others. Really appreciate your support, everybody. Badrul Mazid, big up my man, saying yes. End product let us down dreadfully. We had so many chances to score, but poor touches, judgment, and passing let us down. Dreading the Scums backlash if we don't get to the last 16 stage. I think Marseille very much did us a favor last night, my man. I think they did help us out a lot. They made that draw actually a bit probably easier to deal with. Big yourself up, my man. Mark New, good to see you, Mark. Now here as well, saying I'll take the away draw and win at home, but strikers missed so many chances, 0 on target. Passing was piss poor. Kulu need him back very soon. Hill knocked off the ball a bit too easily. Basuma and Spence are not trusted yet. Best chances fell to Emerson. Spence hat trick incoming. Come on, you Spurs. Come on, your Harris Army. I disagree that the best chances actually came to Emerson in the beginning of the first half. They did, but I'll be honest. You look at the what was it, that cross that Sonny put across the face of goal to Kane. I don't even know how any of the body parts of Kane couldn't put that in, but also it wasn't really a great cross either. But then you look at the other one. Remember that bit of silky play, Dave, where it was like 4-1 touch passing. Kane did that little dummy, and then Sonny put it wide. That was beautiful. That was one of the better chances of the game, I thought. We had that one header from a Sonny free kick, I think it was, where it was like Richie, Kane, and I think it was Longley or somebody. Romero. They all could have tapped it in again with any body part they wanted. Any body part they wanted, they could have tapped it in. So, Mark, I agree with everything you said, except I feel like the best chances fell to actually other players when I really look at it. But Emerson did get his chances, more chances than Perisic actually earned, I'll be honest. Then he says, I agree, made better than the North London derby, but final ball was poor and too many missed chances before the game. Away draw is okay, beat them at home next week, but group is open with qualification on the final game. He'll dispossess too easily. Emerson can't cross and shoot. Jedi needed.
I do want to err the side of caution about this draw away from home in Europe. When are we going to change our away form? Our away form this season, we've won 1 out of our 5 away games across all competitions. I think now 6 away games across all competitions. We haven't won a European away game in 2 years. And you're not going to get any easier in the European away games than what we've had. Pacos de Ferreira, lost. Vitesse, lost. Enes Moura, lost. Dynamo Zagreb, lost. I think there's another team in there, I can't remember. But my point is, the teams that we've played are the lower caliber of teams across Europe. If we can't get over the line there, how do people expect us to get over the line if we do get out of the group? We have to change that. And I get, look, it's okay to get the result. It's not the worst result. But in games like that where you should be winning, you have to win them. We can't keep going away from home and not getting the wins. We've played some of the easiest teams across Europe, Europa Conference League, Europa League teams, and we can't get the result. And also, Sporting, another team we should be beating. So across all 3 European competitions, we haven't picked up 1 win away from home in 2 years. It's not good enough. And we also have to remember, the reason why I don't think the draw last night was, even though it's a decent result, you can't really complain about a point away from home. But Conte's form in the Champions League is not the best. He's got an awful record in the Champions League. And that's where my concern comes from. I can see it slipping away slightly. And that's why I thought last night was imperative to win. I thought we had to get out with a win. So I wouldn't be so
We were given a favor, like I said, by Marseille, in fact. Done a favor by Marseille. Made that draw actually nowhere near as insufferable, you could say.
This is what I mean, though. I wouldn't get sucked into away from home. A draw is good when we haven't won a European game away from home in 2 years, and they've been the easiest teams we've come up against.
Yeah, they're not.
You could get in Europe, I would say. The easiest teams you probably could get in Europe,
Yeah. Oliver Freeman, good to see him, my man. Front 3 was off it. Happy enough with the press and the pressure we put on them. Thought Bentancur and PEH had great games. Longley had a good game, but nearly cost us. Lucky not to get a second yellow. Also, Hugo nearly cost us. Overall, good point against a good side away from home.
They're not good. I told everybody, we have a habit of this, dressing everyone up as Bayern Munich, Barcelona, prime Real Madrid. We always do it. They were not a good team. They offered absolutely fuck all for 90 minutes. They had the odd breakaway, the odd chance. They're not good.
I haven't heard this, though, yet, and I agree, because we were talking about it on the watch-along. I thought Longley did actually have a great game, and he did get lucky, actually, not to get a second yellow. You're totally right, actually, Ollie, but he sort of made that foul knowing he was about to be subbed off, and it sort of just felt like the referee kind of maybe just let it go, because I think Longley knew he was getting taken off anyways. And I think Longley was frustrated with the referee giving every single call to the likes of the opposition and then not giving a single one to Spurs fans. So Longley looked a little bit frustrated by the looks of it. I actually thought he had a fantastic game defensively. Really was getting stuck in all over the place and is really good on the ball, I must say. I mean, his composure in certain moments is exceptional. He's actually, by the looks of it, is this crazy to say, Dave? This season, he's almost been better than Romero, I would say, on the ball.
Who?
Longley.
Oh, yeah, he has. I think Romero's been way off what he was last season. I even mentioned it in the game. You know, he'd be way off defensively, but also not as good on the ball as he was last season. Last night was a better improvement from Romero, but Langley, look, I said this about Ben Davies. Sit here and praise Ben Davies all we want. You get a ball playing left side of centre back, he's going to walk straight into that team. It's exactly what Langley done.
Yeah, he's been one of the, I think he's been basically the best center back of the past few games, I would say. Brad Matthews didn't lose, but for poor finishing, we should have won. Win our 2 home games and get at least a point in Marseille, and we're through. Thought tonight was a lot better. I think last night was a lot better, Brad, but it's just disappointing. We just needed to come through with all 3 points there because we had everything in the bag to deserve all 3 points. But kind of like David alluded to there's something wrong with that away form in Europe that didn't allow us to get it, even when we had all the chances in the world, so many silver platters to be able to go 2-0 up, 3-0 up, have a nice night out in Frankfurt. We just couldn't find a way to put it over the line there, which is a bit of a concern. But pick yourself up, Brad. And if it wasn't for poor finishing, we would have won. And that's right at the end of the day. It is right.
I'm just running to the toilet for number 1, Jack. I'll be back.
No worries, Dave. Tim Ladson, we should have scored at least 3 goals last night. The finishing was woeful and again sloppy in the final third. We were better, though, and more aggressive, which was good. It wasn't a bad performance overall, and I believe we will be okay moving forward. I do think we'll be okay moving forward, but I'm concerned with that front line, Tim, and I think the defense was okay. The midfield was okay. Lloris was really questionable in possession. I must say there probably still is something to be said with that, with how poor Lloris was in possession. But I feel like a lot of players had good performances out there. Again, it's just the front 3 and those moments in the final third that let us down. Big up Miss Leonardi saying that could and should have been a 3-0 win. You're absolutely right. And it probably could have been at least 2-0 by halftime, if you ask me. Jizzy, toxic headshot. We are 3rd in the league and on the verge of qualification for Champions League. Our fan base is clapped. Embarrassing, to be honest. Toxic, we don't like to take too many shots at the fan base on this channel, but it is kind of crazy how much we feel like, or at least the mood feels like we're on the verge of collapse, considering the position we are in the league, and also the fact that if we do get those wins from home, I'm pretty sure we'll be okay if we get those wins at home in the Champions League. The majority of the games we have left in the Champions League are at home anyway. Pick up Toxic. Scootley THFC says, Dave, Conte's stats in Champions League don't lie as a person. Don't lie as a person. This is the room to improve and fix some things or be open to new things. To not make any changes from the weekend defeat is shocking. Playing Højbjerg and Bentancur to the ground while having Basuma bench, then call out for rotation. He's very frustrated, Dave. Yeah.
It's only the fans calling for rotation, not Conte. Conte said last season he'd like better options and stuff like that and more options, which he's got. Fair enough. I can understand that. It's not Conte calling for rotation. It's the fans. And just because Conte doesn't do it, it doesn't mean he's making the right choices. Bentancur, we have to understand, if we're being brutally honest, as much as we love Basuma, he was given his chance against West Ham. Yep. Ask yourself, did he take his chance? No, he didn't. He was also given his chance in the last pre-season game against Rome in the first half. Did he take his chance then?
Nope.
No, he didn't. It also, instead of always blaming the manager, why can't we look at some of these players? Why can't you say, okay, it's football. You don't get a run of 20, 30 games to get into it. You take your opportunity. Football is one of the most ruthless businesses in the world. If you don't perform, it's all performance-based. If you don't perform, that's your problem. No one's going to sit there and say, you know what, we're going to keep putting you out, keep putting you out, keep putting you out, keep putting you out. With someone like Basuma coming into a new club, you've got to take your opportunity when it comes. And if we're being brutally honest, he hasn't took it. Yes, he came on against Leicester and helped change the game and played well. But the system suited us and it made us look good because it stemmed the flow of Leicester's attacks and also just helped us get at Leicester, turn the ball higher over and punish them, which is what we've done. But Basuma did not take his chance against West Ham. That was his opportunity. And unfortunately, he's just going to have to sit down and wait for another one. Højbjerg and Bentancur playing well this season. That's Basuma's fault for not taking it when he had the opportunity.
Yeah. Um, Big up Scootley. Dawson here. We played decent, but we needed to be more clinical. Midfield was solid. Defense didn't really put a foot wrong, bar 1 or 2 passes. Needed the final ball to be much better. It's not the worst of a point, but we needed to make sure we win next week. Certainly need to right these wrongs of these performances, especially it felt like we did everything right to get the win and to get all 3 points. Where we did capitulate against the likes of Arsenal, we didn't really capitulate in this game, I'll be honest. It just was a lot left to be desired when it came to the finishing department, Dawson. I think that's really all it is. But pick up, my man. And I think the defense actually really was okay. And I actually questioned the defense because there's a lot of evidence to question the defense. I think we all probably were, anticipating, at least I was thinking at one stage, Frankfurt were just going to get the odd goal and then we'd find ourselves losing at 1-0. But the fact that the defense did pull out with a 0-0, you really can only then just look at the front line and the final third. Absolutely right. Because they did their job at the end of the day. CC says defending was actually okay for once. Front three are struggling. Need Decky back for the 3-4-3 to work. Think we should switch to the 3-5-2 now that he's out. I think Kulusevski is obviously and clearly our best and most effective right winger. Dave, I don't know if I'm going to throw you this, and I don't want too long of an answer, and you're welcome to call me, an idiot for this sort of suggestion, but is Richarlison, with how sort of inconsistent he is, maybe on the right wing, because he hasn't been deployed on the left very much. He's been deployed on the right a lot. Should we maybe consider Hill instead as the backup to Kulusevski? Maybe would he offer something more similar?
I mean, Gil done some good things last night and he done some awful things last night. But even when he done the awful things, he still went and won the ball back. And you can't really ridicule Richarlison for his work rate either, to be fair. Look, even Richarlison, when he did play on the left, he played on the left, I think, twice this season. One of the games he started, and at halftime he lost 11 out of 14 balls that came to him. He's just not a winger. He's just not one of them players that plays down the side. No matter what side you put him on, he's an out-and-out striker, and that's why we brought him here, to be back up for Harry Kane, to come in and give Harry Kane a rest at times, or to bring him on when you're chasing a game and go 2 up top. We didn't bring him in here to play either side, and that's just the facts of it. And Kulu is just better at creating than what Richarlison. And Richarlison is a finisher.
Good answer there, Dave. Big up CC. Really appreciate it, my man. Big up Al. Should have won that 3-0. For Zinho, you can include Kane in that list. I mean, he missed a lot of chances too. I don't really know if he was at the end of a lot of the chances. I think the two that I come to think of are the one from Sonny's set piece that we talked about, Dave, where Romero, Richie, and Kane all had a great chance to score. And then that one where Sonny flashed it across the face of goal and Kane couldn't find a way to put, any sort of leg or anything on it. But maybe there might have been another.
He had a shot as well. He had a shot on the edge of the box where he held off one of the Frankfurt defenders, got turned and took a strike, and it went just wide. Look, finishing, yeah, I mean, you can't criticize Kane for it. He's our top scorer this season, but yeah, you can't criticize Kane for the finishing. But
hold-up play was
you're going to tell me his all-round play was woeful. I'm not accepting it. His hold-up play. Why can't Richarlison and Son hold up the ball like Harry Kane does? Why do they keep losing it? Harry Kane's hold-up play was absolutely brilliant last night. Times he had 3-4 players around him, players kicking him, and he was still coming out with the ball. Harry Kane's hold-up play was good. Now, when he holds up that play and feeds Son and Richarlison, they need to hold on to the ball for him to get into the box and get on the end of things. Did they do that? Maybe Son done it in the first half. Second half, he didn't. Richarlison didn't do it. He had a 10, 15-minute spell where he done it. Rest of the game, he didn't do it. So, I get maybe you could put him in the bracket for the finishes, but not for the hold-up play. I thought anything that did come up front, it stuck because of Kane.
Yeah. Big up for Zinho. The hold-up play was great, but maybe, now that Dave has explained it, the hold-up play was exceptional. Maybe a bit left to be desired with the finishing, but, you have to look at the whole picture there. Big up for Zinho. Great name as well. Anthony Child pressed much higher than previous games, which is rare away from home, so that's encouraging. All the time Kulusevski is out, has to play 2 up top. There's not a lot of bench with fresh legs. That's Players were to blame tonight for not being composed in the final third. I feel like we're often missing, all the injuries in the case of Lucas and Kulusevski, and those are 2 of our forward-line players, and we are so limited there, and you're absolutely right, Anthony. I guess this person has me blocked, so guess I won't be able to read their comment. Feel free to unblock me if you want to have your comment read on Twitter. Shane McLaughlin was a poor performance. Opposition were rubbish. Game bored the life out of you. I don't really know how it could have bored the life out of you. In fact, it was more anticlimactic, I feel like, Shane. You were just watching the team set up right in front of goal with a glorious chance, probably celebrating the drinks are out and everything, and then just to see them waste it. I actually thought it was more of an anticlimactic sort of performance where you're just watching the team waste chance after chance after chance. I actually didn't think it was that boring of a game, but I could be wrong. Dave, what did you find it a bit boring? I just thought it was just kind of frustrating.
Second half was boring, I thought. First half was grand. Second half, I did find it a bit boring, especially maybe the last 20 minutes.
I thought Hill had a decent brief intro. I hope to see more game time given to him. Overall, we didn't lose, 2 home wins, and we're into the playoffs. Yeah, we just need those home wins brought in. And it is questionable that away form, certainly, especially after not grabbing all 3 points there. But the home wins after what Marseille were able to do for us, good point there. Harry C., front three were awful and disjointed, and they are the source of 99% of our goals, getting nowhere near enough off the wingbacks. The wingbacks aren't helping out. Perisic hasn't been helping out with the goals or the assists. He's basically, I don't know, been as effective last night as sort of Emerson was, if not, less effective. And also as well, like we said this before, Harry C., I think you're spot on. The front three are the ones who bail us out. They've bailed us out for years. We continue to rely on them to bail us out. This season, they just haven't been doing it to the same levels, I think, that they normally do. And it is frustrating because we know that that is sort of their job. That's why they are paid the big bucks. At the same time, though, it also speaks to the fact that this team has often relied too heavily on them to bail us out continuously. And when we find ourselves not able to rely on them to help us out or to bail us out in games, we do get a bit kind of stifled, you could say. But I don't think it's the worst problem in the world to have, because now that we did get a clean sheet after last night, I think there's a bit of confidence now in that defense. Probably the fact that they didn't crumble. They get to look at the front three now. The front three can't point fingers elsewhere or anything. It is, I think, a good, a good result for the defense, I could say, for their confidence. Even though I don't have a ton of confidence in that defense, it is good for their confidence, is what I would say. In my opinion, it was much better than previous games, bar the finishing. Yeah, probably, especially at least when it came from the midfield and defense. Absolutely right. Tim saying no cohesion about the team. Everything is too robotic with a real lack of individual flair. At times, Poch's teams perform like there was some kind of telepathy between the players. This team is seeing players get in each other's way because they make the same moves off the ball. Was there a bit more telepathy in the Poch team, Dave, or is this maybe, I don't know, glorifying of the Poch years?
No, I can understand what he's saying. There was probably, I'd say, more of a pattern of play to follow going forward. Look, the front three missed chances that they'd usually put away. They did miss chances that they'd usually put away. But I know that stat is slightly obscured because of the amount of games Conte's been in charge of Pochettino. But right now, Conte has the best goals to game ratio.
Also, as well, I think when he was over at Inter, he had, I believe, each season the second or most goals scored in all of the Serie A as well, if I'm not mistaken.
And I will also say that
last season too, we had some of the most goals scored.
Yeah, we had some of the most goals scored, but I do see a lot of people saying, "Well, Poch got us to the Champions League final playing full flow and attacking football." No, he didn't. Come November, our league form was absolutely shit and shocking. We were also outplayed in a lot of our Champions League games, but managed to grind out results. Ajax outplayed, Man City outplayed, in the group stage outplayed. Lucky to get out of the group stage. We lost Wanyama Dembele that season. Also lost Harry Kane to a long-term injury as well. The football was not good that got us to a Champions League final. So let's not pretend it was.
Tyler here saying, thought we finally had a full 90 where we were the better side, but our forwards let us down. Usually they have to bail out our back line, but it was the opposite today. No reason to panic, and Conte got it right. And I'm retweeting this. Absolutely love this from Tyler. It might be the one of the day, Dave. Must get 3 points and a few goals against Brighton this weekend. Love it. Efficient as well. Very efficient there from Tyler. Beautiful, my man. Beautifully put. Phil Barnett, great name as well. First half played well, had chances to kill the game off. Second half, very sloppy. A draw isn't a bad result against the Europa League winners. Also playing in a hostile crowd, but I was just left disappointed with not getting back-to-back winning ways, or not getting back to winning ways. straight after the North London derby. Probably well said there, Phil, and it's exactly what we wanted, and felt like we did everything right to get back to winning ways after the North London derby. Just couldn't find a way to put it in the back of the net to be celebrating out in Germany. Big up Marsh saying, just play a 3-5-2 till Decky's back. Need Richie off the bench to give something different in them situations. I think we do need to just start with a 3-5-2 soon just to see something different. Mikey Hot Take, Sun's first touch is the issue on so many attacks. And then Anthony saying, we're not clinical enough. There you go. Everybody from Twitter, their thoughts. Going to get to a super chat here from Brandon Troller and a few others here. But everybody, if you do want to get your thoughts onto Twitter next time out, feel free to do so. We're going to get to some comments here. Then we're going to finish up with the community section. We'll get on out of here. Brandon Troller saying, those calling for Conte's head should be calling the front desk at the loony bin instead. I get we want to see Spence, Basuma, but come on, man. It feels like I've heard this before where people have said this, Brandon, we're like, wow, is Conte going to die on this hill of Emerson to get sacked? And it just feels like our Spurs fans going to sack Conte and die on the hill of Jed Spence and Matt Doherty and players like that to get Conte sacked. It sort of kind of goes both ways, where we're questioning Conte at every single move he makes now, where we're starting to tick him off and we're starting to make him, we're starting to make him feel like he's not wanted, or we're starting to make him feel like he's not appreciated or not respected anymore at the club. And I don't know. It feels like we're weirdly dying on this kind of Matt Doherty hill and this Jed Spence hill. Even though I love Jed Spence, I want Jed Spence to do well. I'm not going to sack Conte over my, love for Jed Spence to play in the team, if that makes sense.
And if we're being brutally honest, as much as people say they love Poch, they also question him an awful lot of the time. They question Jose Mourinho a lot of times. And I'm seeing so much similarities between now and the Jose Mourinho era. I'm just seeing so many similarities in terms of what we're doing, what the press are doing, and everything else. Look, if people want Fonseca next, no problem, but that's where it's going.
Big up, Brandon. Really appreciate it.
Just don't come crying to me once that happens. Do not come crying. Because so many people came crying to me when Nuno was in charge, and it's like, but I was sitting here battling with you for months about why we shouldn't sack Jose and why we should stick with him and go again in the market. But you were telling me all this, all that, and now you're this very first sitting there going, Dave, why have we got Nuno in charge? Well, we got Nuno in charge because you wanted to sack a manager that has a trophy record behind him. And we're doing the same now with Conte. This is the problem. At Tottenham, we say we want trophies. We're pissed off we don't win trophies. We're starved we don't win trophies. But then we want to get rid of managers very, very quickly who have
there to win trophies.
Winning trophies at clubs they've been at. Blows my mind.
Who have a formula to winning trophies. Yeah, it's well said, though, Brandon. Really appreciate you, my man. And I really feel like we shouldn't be dying on this Spence and Basuma Hill as much as I do love those players. Dave Hamilton saying, Conte did say that he would rotate as we have a busy October time. Will tell. Great comment there, Dave. Great comment.
Difference between saying Conte was calling for rotation and saying he will rotate. And the big difference is yes, he said he'll rotate because we've got a period of 13 games. But does that mean it has to happen second game into that 13 games? No, it doesn't. This is the thing. Again, we've got all these new shiny toys. We won't call for rotation, get this guy in, get that guy in, get this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Give it time.
Like you said,
time. It will happen over time with injuries, with suspensions, with fatigue. It will happen over time. But just because he said he will rotate doesn't mean it has to happen the second game into the 13-run fixture.
Spot on. Big up, Dave Hamilton. Great comment, my man. John Langford saying, I'm 65, been supporting Spurs for over 50 years. Conte is the best since Bill Nicholson. Come on, you Spurs. And I hope we don't waste it, John. I really hope we don't waste this opportunity. And big up. And I do feel like we're certainly not treating him with any sort of respect at the moment, John, but pick yourself up, brother. Hang in there, my man. Adrian Chia with a super chat. Is Frankfurt mediocre, or did we make them
They're shit. I said it going into the game. They're not as good as everyone thinks they are. Oh, well, I don't know. They've got this guy. They've got that guy. They play this way. They've done picked up form in the Bundesliga. It's like, I get that, but we're Tottenham bloody Hotspur. We've got world-class players. They don't. We've got a world-class manager. They don't. What makes it a tricky game is our European away form has been absolutely catastrophic over the last 2
You
years.
can't even really name a player in Frankfurt that had a good game even, like, what name
No,
me a player for Frankfurt that really had a good game, that really, like, impressed you, like, a ton? Even that Kamada guy who we were looking at had a pretty woeful game, if you ask me. He didn't really make much of an impact, and he actually looked gassed at one stage, like, it looked like he had no, like, energy left. That Kolo Muani striker who they bought dove at every single opportunity he was given. That's pretty much all he was good for, was just diving on the pitch. The likes of the back line was pretty easy to play through. The midfield was pretty easy to play through. Even that guy, Ansgar Knauf, who I really love, was actually kind of, I don't know, shut up by Emerson in a lot of cases. Actually, Emerson did a pretty good job against him. Um, so I don't know, Dave. I kind of agree with you. Like, it felt like you can't even name a player. I know that whole Frankfurt team. I know that whole 11. I can't really pick a player out that I can think of that really even had a great game against us, or had a really influential game against us. So, Adrian, that's my answer for it. Big yourself up, brother. We're going to go to the community section here. Just give me just a moment here, everybody. See what people have to say over there. These were kind of my thoughts on it. So much left to be desired from the front three. I thought they were very wasteful with the chances they had. Kane had exceptional hold-up play and created a lot, but I don't think he should be blamed at all for the missed chances. I'm not sure how much Conte can be blamed for tonight's performance either, considering the chances the forwards did have. But those are just my quick thoughts. Feel free to disagree. Give me your thoughts for Twitter Reacts, everybody. So this is what people had to say. Jay Hilton saying 100% agree. Easily could have been 3-0. Easily. I thought we played the best football all season. It just shows how important Kulu is. How important Kulu is. You can just imagine him on the pitch ripping through that defense yesterday. Kind of disappointed we didn't win because it was there to be won the whole game. But tough stadium. Come on, you Spurs. It was kind of there. There were chances throughout the whole game. The first half probably had the most chances, and absolutely should have been a goal up by halftime, but there were still chances in the second half that I recall, especially I think the one was that, bit of silky play and then Sonny put it a bit wide. But I agree with you there, Jay. I agree with you. It just felt like it could have been 3-0 at any stage. And Kulusevski, he probably would have maybe made it a bit easier on us. Perhaps he would have had that more decisive final pass or that more decisive final ball, maybe Kulusevski, but it felt like we were ripping through them without Kulusevski. We almost didn't need Kulusevski in this game. We actually created plenty of chances without him. As much as he probably would have made it a bit more assured, it just felt like we were doing just fine without him in that game. But big up, my man. Appreciate it as well. Ryan Steve saying, glad to see Hill get some minutes, and he showed a lot of fight. I like him, but he looked pretty small compared to some of those Frankfurt boys. Pretty much everyone outside the front three had a good game. Honestly, I think the three of them need to be a bit more greedy. There were a few times where Charleston had the ball in the 18-yard box, and I wish he just turned and had a shot. You're probably right with Richie. The person who I think of most when it comes to exactly that point, though, Dave, is Perisic. Perisic is the one who I want to be way more greedy, because I think he's always looking to put in a ball or a cross when, like I said just the other day, I was like, Perisic, he's showing you on the inside, have a hit, especially someone who's so two-footed as well. Like, have a hit, and he wouldn't do it. And I think Richie, I didn't notice this. He's probably right. I just didn't notice it. But with Perisic is the one who I think needs to be a bit more selfish in moments.
I agree with that, but I can see where Ryan Steves is maybe coming from, but I actually disagree. I think the problem is they're all too greedy. That's my honest opinion. You look at Richarlison and Son. It's like they don't want to hold up the ball to be able to play other people in. Richarlison trying to do it one touch, where, in case Richarlison's Son and Kane at times this season as well, all trying to beat too many players rather than just passing it and moving. I actually think they're all being a bit selfish. There's been times this season where Kane has ignored passing it to Son and vice versa. Son has ignored squaring it to Kane. I actually think they're probably being a bit too selfish, if I'm being brutally honest. That's why you're not seeing them hold it up with one touch, get the body in front, hold the ball up, play other people in so that they can spin and turn and get in behind. What they're trying to do is one touch and I'm going in behind because I want that goal. I actually think they're being too selfish rather than being unselfish.
Other games, I know exactly
doing
what
the
you're
right
saying.
teams to help each other's game, in my opinion.
I can name some really good examples of what you're saying in other games for sure, Dave. Definitely some other games. That's absolutely right. That's absolutely true. That game, it's hard for me to think of it as much, but because the chances were just flowing. So it's hard to know, like, when they were being selfish. I even said, Dave, like, when they started complaining to each other about some of the chances, I was like, lads, I mean, you've wasted so many. You can't get picky here. It started turning into that situation. Steven saying playing Emerson after Saturday is insane. I think ideal world, you probably did want to see him punished. You wanted to see him taught a lesson after that bonehead decision. But I guess it's just that faith isn't there with the likes of Doherty and Spence. We have to get used to it, Stephen. Lasego, good to see you in here, mate. Saying spot on, mate. People need to understand that Tottenham will not win all matches. Frankfurt, this is a game we need to win, though, Lasego. But Frankfurt is a difficult place. The negativity is the one that will cost Spurs this season. So far, so good. Big up, Lasego. Liked your comment earlier about the likes of Arsenal as well, my man. Sean Maddox saying, I'm a bit disappointed with the forwards' wasted chances. Son was dreadful on the ball. He didn't have a tidy first touch. Would have liked to see more from Hill. Boy wasted his chance, falling over too easy and unable to connect passes. In hindsight, we should have brought on Basuma and went to the 3-5-2 after taking Richarlison off. I did call for that at one stage in the watch along, Dave. Did you feel like, but I remember mentioning like we were all over them and ripping them apart so easily. It did kind of feel like why maybe switch things up that dramatically if you are just tearing them apart in the way that we were.
Do you know what it is, Jack? I think if Tottenham would have
I remember you saying that when I suggested the 3-5-2.
I think, look, if Tottenham would have started that with that formation, fine. But in a game like that, and I get we're dying to see the 3-5-2, right? But when your defense is being caused no problems whatsoever, your two midfielders are absolutely dominating the game.
Balling,
and the three forwards are creating chances. Your wing backs are just allowed to constantly get forward without really being challenged. There's no need to take out an attacking player and boost that midfield with an extra body when your problem is actually taking your chances and scoring the goal. And with like against Leicester, the reason why we had to do it is because, yes, we were playing well going forward, but Leicester also had a good flow of attacks. So the reason why, in order to stop that, we had to bring an extra body in midfield to engage them higher up the pitch, put pressure on them and turn over the ball. And in the Frankfurt game, did not need that. It just needed that spark, that moment, that maybe bit of magic. It didn't need or require a change of formation. The 3-5-2 is used differently during the game to consolidate you, to give you more balance in terms of defensively and attackingly. We didn't need that yesterday, and that's why the 3-4-3 worked to a T. Again, the front players just didn't take their chances or didn't create enough in the second half and to keep the pressure on. So I get with the 3-5-2, but it's a formation you either start with or you use to get an extra body in midfield to give you more dominance. But we didn't need that yesterday.
Yeah. Big up, Sean. Liam 1, I don't know that there's so much to say other than our skills are just so poor at the moment. The passing is terrible, very just disjointed and no synergy. Nobody knows how to pass through the lines. I feel like we were breaking the lines very quickly, but if you mean through the lines in behind, maybe you're probably right, Liam. Something is not clicking between the team. Is it down to individuals or the tactics? Today, it was down to individuals. For me, more so than the tactics. Not sure there was much Conte could do to change things up. Don't see how chucking an extra body in midfield would have helped us at all. For example, we weren't overrun in the midfield. I actually thought that Son, despite not playing, is Liam going to win the community section yet again, Dave? Is he going to win it?
I think so.
This is a double win for Liam here.
He's on form.
Tyler, I think we said, won the Twitter one. I think Tyler won the Twitter one, but it looks like Liam's going to double back-to-back wins here for Liam. I actually thought that Son, despite not playing well himself, had a better game than Kane. That's how poor I thought Kane was tonight. Dave. Despite Kane involving himself in the game more than the other front three. Despite Kane involving himself in the game more than the other front three. On the flip, so I think he's alluding to the hold-up play there. On the flip side, I thought defensively we were pretty good. Lenglet and Romero had good games. We made Frankfurt look just as bland as us. This might sound a bit pessimistic, but I don't feel comfortable that we'll make it out of the group. So many different thoughts there, Dave. In fact, Liam, I must say, you kind of put a lot of different, kind of very opinions and, ideas out there. I must say there are some parts I might have, maybe think differently than Liam too, Dave, here, but I might, we'll continue to look. Might be getting a bit ahead of ourselves, but we might give Liam the win yet again here because it was an interesting one to read because it had various different opinions in it. One, he didn't just hit one point; he hit a variety of talking points. I thought
he's let me down with the Kane comment. I'm only messing, but look, I can actually see what he's saying or where he's coming from with that comment. Like Son did put in a couple of good balls in the first half, but just for me, second half, I thought Just thought he was woeful. And the thing is, at least Kane was in the game in terms of hold up play and stuff like that. Son, you would say, had moments rather than being in the game a lot more.
Yeah,
But I can understand it. I can understand it.
Big up, Liam. For me, I am from Shauna. For me, I'm still wondering the logic behind Conte out. Honestly, don't know how some people base their opinions. Shauna, it's what we're going to be talking about all week, my man.
Yeah,
Don't you worry.
I just want to pull up a quick comment here because I've seen this around last night, today, and stuff like that. And it's really grinding my gears. Put away your bias. Kane was definitely the worst. It doesn't matter whether you use biased, disingenuous, dishonest, or whatever word you want to label it as. Absolute bullshit. It's the way I viewed the game. Just because I didn't view it the way you viewed the game, it doesn't mean it's biased. It doesn't mean it's disingenuous or dishonest. Everyone, I keep saying this, and I'm going to keep saying it till I'm blue in the face. Everyone sees football through different lenses. Everyone sees life through different eyes, And at the end of the day, everyone is going to see it differently to other. Just because it's not the echo chamber you want me to live in, it doesn't mean it's biased, disingenuous, or dishonest. So let's put this crap to fucking bed right now. It absolutely annoys me. People can't accept that it's YouTube, it's fans, it's opinion based. Everyone has an opinion. It doesn't mean it's any of them words that people want to label on it. I think Harry Kane was more involved in the game in terms of hold-up play than what Son and Richarlison was. I think Son and Richarlison were very frustrating at times. And people say to me, Son is better than Harry Kane. Fine, have that opinion. I'm not going to call you biased. I'm not going to call you disingenuous or dishonest.
Yeah.
So why do you label it at me? Why do you label it at me? It's absolute fucking bullshit is what it is. And I've had enough of it. I've had an absolute enough of it.
I seriously don't get, Dave.
It's all opinion-based.
I can't believe being called dishonest and disingenuous for not, basically, if you don't agree with people these days, you're being called dishonest and disingenuous and biased. It really is getting a bit out of hand. And feel free to continue to call us that, but we'll just keep plowing on, everybody. But David Hall says, also, we have nothing in midfield who can add to the attack, like score a goal, two wingbacks who can't score a goal too. The problem is that Perisic is supposed to be the one, I think, filling in that goal department right now, David. And he has been a bit underwhelming. Let's just be honest with ourselves. Saying Spurs front three were so unclinical today. They all can do better than this. Sonny should have scored two amazing chances. I mean, they were just silky football. I remember one of the chances that Sonny had, especially the one where I believe it was like Bentancur, Højbjerg, a few first-time passes. Then Richie plays it to Kane. Kane kind of lets it kind of like flick off his toe to in behind Son, and then Son just puts it wide. It was actually one of the sexiest goals that could have been scored, I think, in a while, actually, for Spurs. But sometimes it's like that. Sometimes football is like that. You just make the most beautiful bit of art on the field and just doesn't get put away.
But you know what? If we're being brutally honest, they all had glorious chances. Kane had a couple, whereas on another day, he would have got on the end of them, it would have been the back of the net. Richarlison had a couple, whereas maybe if he was a bit sharper, they wouldn't have been able to get them last-minute tackles back on him. If he was a bit more sharper, a bit more clinical, a bit more assured. So they all had pretty amazing chances, just failed to take them.
Big up, man. Derek Smith, I don't think Conte has any blame. We were better than Frankfurt at their place with that crowd. Sure, the front three should probably have scored, but we got to draw away and sit second in the group. 2 home games now, which I believe we will win. I can see us topping the group. Big up, Derek. Hopefully you keep it well, my man.
I hope so, Derek. Them 2 home games are absolutely crucial.
So crucial. You have to win them. Must wins. Have to win. And that's what the problem is that when you put yourself in that situation, when there are already must wins, it gets a bit tricky. You would like to be in a position now where it's not as much must wins. Shane O'Neill saying, honestly, Kane's touch and passing was atrocious tonight. I know it wasn't all down to him, but we've already said our piece on Son. And apart from 15 minutes in one match, he hasn't changed. The man has been nothing short of dreadful this season. I don't think Kane's been dreadful this season. As for Richarlison,
I think when he's talking about the 15 minutes, I think he's talking about Son and the hat-trick at Leicester.
Oh, I see. Sorry. As for Richarlison, yeah, my reading skills have been off today. As for Richarlison, less than impressed so far. Glorified Lamella. Loving the hot takes. Loving the hot takes there, Shane. But disagree there either. If anything, I'd let my beautiful Hill Messi be called a glorified Lamella. I'd accept that more than Richarlison. But
I'm going to put it out as a tweet later and see what the general consensus is as. It's a very bold statement to make.
I love that, Shane. Save that for the hot takes, shows and whatnot, Shane. Very brave of you.
I do want to say to people, though, whatever your opinions are on Kane and Son, you got to remember that, yeah, we get frustrated when we don't win, and these guys maybe don't find that bit of magic. But you've also got to question everybody else. Like, look, as much as the midfield had a great game yesterday, why can't they chip in with more goals? Like we said, why can't the wing backs chip in more goals? You know, in fairness, from set pieces, we've upped in the goal department this year. But we've got to remember, Kane and Son have been absolutely unbelievable servants to this football club. And it's not always entirely on them two when we don't win. And again, like Conte, I would say I think we need a bit more respect for Kane and Son.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't know. I just feel like everybody knows that Kane and Son are better together than better on their own. So I also don't really get, the attacking of one, putting down of one and the praise of another either, and then being called disingenuous
I'm
and
probably
dishonest
guilty of
for it.
that at times myself, I'll be honest. Probably am.
But I mean, I guess we'll just be called
I
disingenuous
try
and
to be fair,
dishonest
though.
for
I do try to be fair.
it. Colin Turner, Son should have been on the score sheet. Our passing was off and final ball was overhit. The final ball I actually thought was really overhit in the North London Derby as well. There's so many opportunities where I thought we had players clean through and just overhit it. Big up, Colin. Chem Mehmet, if Conte was Welsh, his name would be Tony Pulis, like in the one-liners here from the boys. Kieran Spiteri, front three weren't actually bad, to be honest. Yes, they lost the ball, but at least they keep creating more chances. There's something to be said about that. They're not failing to create chances. They're failing to put them away. It's kind of two different things here. And whereas with Nuno, we struggle to create chances in general. We struggle to get close to the opposition goal and really create anything of real substance. Whereas with Conte, it's just finishing school is really what it is at this stage. It's just they forgot to go to finishing school this summer.
Yeah, look, it's going to click. It will click. And once it clicks, it's going to be absolutely devastating and frightening. I can tell you that. Some team is going to be on the end of an absolute whitewash from us.
The realist, I mean, Leicester in a way were in the second half. The realist, Son, Kane, Richarlison doesn't work. At least we have found that out, which is why a 3-5-2 formation should have been a better option. Play Kane with Son, who have an understanding. Stubborn Conte yet again, doing it his own way. I can see Basuma leaving this club and joining Liverpool or a bigger club with actual ambition. He left Brighton to join us and play Champions League football, but doesn't even get a minute on the pitch. But Hill comes on only to be brushed aside time after time. I have nothing against Hill, but he's not ready for the Premier League or Champions League, in my opinion. I just hope Kulusevski gets fit for the next game. Reports were saying he will be back in a few days. Please make that be true. He walked straight back into the team. I'm even starting to miss Lucas now. I mean, the front line is very dry at the moment. Dave, is there something to be said with Basuma seeing Hill being put on instead and maybe being a bit, you could say, peeved by that, maybe being a bit disgruntled by that? Would Basuma be a bit frustrated seeing Hill being put on? Or is it like you said, the formation was absolutely ripping apart Frankfurt? You put on a winger or you put on another forward. You don't put on an extra midfielder. Would Basuma see it that way, though, is the question?
No, Basuma plays an entirely different position. I don't understand. Like, why would he be sitting there going, "Oh, he didn't bring me on right wing. I'm absolutely furious. I want to leave Tottenham." It's like, but yeah, you're a centre midfielder. Why would I bring you on at right wing? He wouldn't be. He wouldn't be. He might look where Basuma might be annoyed is like, well, why don't we go with a 3-5-2 so you can save one of them forward options to come off the bench and have an impact because we've got injuries. Why didn't you start with the 3-5-2? But you can't be frustrated that he wasn't brought on. Why would you take off Bentancur, who basically didn't lose the ball? Why would you bring on Højbjerg, who was turning over the ball and breaking the lines?
Højbjerg was the best midfielder. Yeah,
Højbjerg
was the best midfielder of that day.
The centre midfield didn't need to be changed up last night. Something needed to be changed in that forward line. We brought on Gill, and it didn't have the desired impact. But look, the midfield was fine last night. I think he could be pissed off he didn't start in a 3-5-2, fine. But not to come on the right wing. I don't get that.
Dalmatian 94, we're going to beat them at home. Love that Dalmatian. Then Spurs for life. Sonny was shit. Missed chances with poor shooting and passing from him. Criminal. Hill needs Jim brushed off most of the time. Hill needs the Jim brushed off the ball most of the time. Richie was poor as well. Kane played well. Big up Spurs life. Really appreciate your support. And I hope Richie turns it around. And when it comes to Hill Messi, there were some nice parts. And then there were some parts where, definitely shown the weight room by some players. And he's going to have to either be a bit trickier like he was in that one moment in the corner flag. That's what shows. Sometimes you don't need to be the biggest man on the pitch. You can just show a bit of skill, get past them. But he is going to have to learn. He did look like full of energy though, and he did look like he was very eager to impress Conte by the looks of things. He almost looked a bit out of control. That's how much he was trying to go. Adrian Chia, delusional, possibly, but you lads are no way dishonest. Absolutely, we'll take delusional. I think in most cases certainly will be, but I don't know, dishonest, disingenuous. I mean, I just don't really get it at this stage. We're just offering our honest football opinions. If they happen to disagree with yours, then so be it. But if anything, we've never attacked people for their opinions on this channel. We invite different opinions on this channel. We have debate shows intentionally made with people included who have different opinions than ourselves. So if apparently that's disingenuous or dishonest, like some people have been saying recently, I don't know. I guess they just not lost track of what that really means.
Dishonest, disingenuous, and saying things for subscribers and to keep the viewers happy. Correct me if I'm going wrong here, Jack, but pretty sure I always take the unpopular opinion and I get berated for it in the comments. You know,
that's
I just
what I thought.
like everyone was saying Kane played bad, so why would I sit here and say Kane played well to keep people? I just thought I don't get it.
Yeah,
I don't get it. I really don't get it. Yeah, look, but with the delusional Adrian Chia, I embrace it. I know I'm delusional. I embrace it. You know, I embrace it. I just. So look, I don't know. Like I said, it just winds me up. Why can't you have an opinion without it having to be something behind it, like being dishonest, disingenuous, and everything else? It's just kind of like, you know, you can have your opinion, I can have my opinion. What's wrong with that? You know, what's wrong with it? But big up, Adrian. Really appreciate the support, brother, and I hope you're keeping well.
Big love, Adrian. Well, everybody, there it is, the end of the Twitter reaction. I'm going to be plugging Dave and I's Twitter if you do want to get your thoughts on it, because as you can tell, we do go to the Twitter first because it is first and foremost a Twitter reaction show. Then we get to the community section for those who don't want to put yourself in the Twitter kind of sphere, which, believe me, totally understand. But feel free, everybody, to follow us there if you do want to get your thoughts on kind of the matches. It is something that Dave and I think so far have been pretty good, with. We're kind of continuing put these shows out usually the day after the game, kind of a good way to sort of, get your thoughts out there and kind of listen maybe a bit less to us on certain things and just kind of have more of a community sort of kind of understanding and a community discussion on the game. So follow us on Twitter if you do want your thoughts on the game put up there. But everybody, I think, we're going to move on, just try to, focus on Brighton here. I think, very much missed opportunities here, very much a frustrating one for Spurs fans, but we are going to power on. We are going to move on. Just going to put in flatcapeurotalk into the comments down below. Everybody do take a look at that. Pretty sure there will be at least 2 videos, maybe at least 1 video put out this week. So we would take a look at that as well, especially if you do want to take off your mind of Spurs. And if you happen to be in the Conte out section, feel free to take a look at my Matthias Jaisla video, a manager that I'm a big fan of and somebody who I think will become one of the big up-and-coming managers if you happen to be even Conte out. But everybody, that'll do for now. As always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
In Conte we trust. We will be seeing you.
Everywhere we go.